The average person probably thinks about castles, dragons and kings when they hear the name Game of Thrones. But the Song of Ice and Fire, written by George R.R. Martin, is way more than just an epic fantasy world. It's only when you dig a little deeper that you uncover some valuable financial lessons that can be learned from the world of Westeros. Warning, spoilers ahead. Hi, and welcome to How to Wealth. My name is Tim and I teach people how to be wealthy in a unique but simple way. So if making money is what you want to do, then you've come to the right place. Game of Thrones might well be the most influential television show we've seen since Friends. And although many fans weren't too happy with the ending they gave us, nobody can argue with the success it achieved. But we aren't here to discuss how good the show actually is. We are here to uncover the secret financial lessons Game of Thrones teaches us. So what are they? The first important lesson Game of Thrones teaches us is the motto of House Stark: winter is coming. Slowly, during the seasons, we uncover that Boromir, Ned Stark's words, are not only true, but they also have a deeper meaning than most of you realize. The fact is that many people in Westeros are not concerned with the upcoming winter, because they are too busy worrying about the war, even though what they should be doing is preparing. So how does this have a financial aspect, I hear you ask? Well, the motto of House Stark teaches you to not only enjoy the good times, but to also prepare for the hard times. And although Ned Stark sadly wasn't there to see it, he proved them right the day the White Walkers arrived. Now, to put it in real life terms, you can never predict when a financial winter strikes, or even for how long it may strike for. Of course, I encourage you to enjoy life as much as possible, but the reality is that no matter how careful of a person you are with your finances, unexpected setbacks are bound to happen. So you better be sure that when your financial winter arrives, you've prepared yourself a shovel to dig yourself out of the snow. But how can you prepare this shovel? Well, this leads me to lesson 2. Invest in your dragons. During the show, we of course follow the story of Daenerys Targaryen, the last dragon, and her quest to reclaim what is rightfully hers. After she was sold by her brother Viserys to marry Khal Drogo, she received 3 petrified dragon eggs as a gift for her wedding. The eggs were black, green and gold, and although they were valuable, they were totally useless at the same time. But during the show, we see how Daenerys cares and maintains the eggs, making them richer in color. And finally, after nurturing them for months, possibly years, they hatched. Now her 3 dragons are the biggest assets she has. Now try looking at these 3 dragon eggs as investments. The black egg stands for the stock market, the green egg stands for cryptocurrency, and the gold egg stands for real estate. By doing nothing, these eggs are also useless. But by maintaining them, building them up day by day, they also start to grow. And after years of maintaining, they too finally hatch. Now they allow you to be free and pretty much do whatever you want to do, all because you maintained them for years, allowing them to grow, and now they can provide you with financial freedom in return. For lesson 3, we visit the other side of Westeros, where a big icy wall splits the north into 2 sections. This big wall separates the kings and their castles from the wildlings, who they believe are barbaric savages, when in fact the only difference between the two is which side of the wall they were born at. This wall exists in our world as well, only it's not made of ice and stone, it's the wall that separates the rich from the poor. In one of my other videos I shared some details about the wealth in America. It stated that 98% of the total wealth in America was owned by only 50% of the population.
What?
Yes, you heard that right, 98%. Meaning that the other 50% of the population only owes 2% of the total wealth. It's fair to say that people who are part of the 50% that only owns 2% of the total wealth in America probably don't have as many opportunities as the richer 50% do. But this shouldn't discourage you. One very cool but overlooked character in Game of Thrones is a man who goes by the name of Mance Rayder. He proved that having money, or in the case of Westeros, a highborn name, is not as important as people think it is. Although Mance grew up on the wealthy side of the wall, where there were as many opportunities as there was gold, he was only able to create his empire once he left. He was able to build it because he surrounded himself with people who've got the same values as he does. So Mance proved that you don't have to be born in a wealthy country or have a rich family in order to achieve success. Sure, having rich parents can solve you a lot of problems, as you will see in lesson 4, but it creates an even bigger problem. That's the fact that many of these people are now unable to solve their own problems. Now before we get into one of the most recognizable quotes in recent history, if you've enjoyed the video so far, it would mean a lot to me if you could smash that subscribe button and accompany me on my journey to 10,000 subscribers. Also, make sure to comment who your favorite character on the show is and I will make sure to reply to everyone. Now, I'm convinced that people who've never even watched Game of Thrones probably know this saying: a Lannister always pays his debts. The famous words of House Lannister you hear so many times throughout the show. This lesson is also probably the most obvious on the list, mainly because it already contains the word debt. Now money is one of the only aspects of the show that doesn't differ too much from the real world. The rule, money is power, is also applicable in Westeros. It's the biggest reason why the Lannisters are as successful as they are. Being extremely rich, the Lannisters can often afford to exchange favors in return for money. But in the real world, people cannot pay off debts as easily as Tyrion can. Now, while it was fun watching Tyrion constantly getting out of trouble by going into debt, you are not as lucky. You need to always be careful about taking on debt. I know it can be tempting sometimes when you hear that your local game shop finally has a PS5 in stock, or when you hear Apple announcing their newest iPhone. But just know that you're way better off waiting a few weeks. Always remember, you're not only losing more money because of interest, but that can also take away some bonuses that will save you a lot of money in the future. For example, when you don't have any credit card debt, your credit card score will typically improve. As a bonus, you're able to get a mortgage against a lower interest rate, which is very helpful. By taking on debt, you will give people like Cersei Lannister power over you, and I don't think anybody wants that. No matter how you put it, the Iron Bank will always have its due. Just in case you were scrolling through Instagram while watching the show, the Iron Bank is the most powerful and wealthiest entity in Westeros, located in the free city of Braavos. They have more money than every bank in Westeros combined and are well known for their ability to collect debts. In Season 1, while Ned Stark was just appointed as Hand of the King, we quickly learn that the Iron Throne already owes the Iron Bank an astonishing 6 million golden dragons, a debt that later comes back to haunt them, when Stannis Baratheon and Ser Davos travel to Braavos in order to convince the Iron Bank to support Stannis' claim to the throne. When the Iron Bank realizes that after the death of Tywin, the Lannisters are unlikely to hold their positions on the throne, they agree. Therefore, the saying, the Iron Bank will always have its due. Now I personally hope that my bank doesn't support someone to destroy me if I forget to pay my rent this month, but the idea is all the same. Their debt collectors will hunt you down even worse than Ramsay did to Theon until they get their money back. The reality is that you can never beat the bank. Lesson 6 is my personal favorite. Chaos isn't a pit, chaos is a ladder. The famous quote said by Peter Baelish. This got me thinking about the last few years. You know what I'm talking about. We lived in chaos for pretty much well over 2 years and it still hasn't completely passed. That chaos ruined many lives, not only physically and mentally, but also financially. Many people lost their jobs and businesses collapsed by the thousands. But there were some people, like Littlefinger, who used this chaos as a ladder. I personally knew someone, a guy I went to school with, who looked at this problem as an opportunity. He and his parents started producing face masks at the start of the outbreak. There's a good chance that if you live in Europe, you actually own one that was produced by his company. As a result, his net worth went through the roof, and he's now already able to live the rest of his life off of his assets. And in case you're curious, I have a video which tells you about the average net worth of your age. So if you want to check it out, I'll make sure to link that video in the description. But the fact is, chaos is all around us, and it will never go away. So try looking at it as an opportunity instead of looking at it as a problem. The final lesson Game of Thrones teaches us is that marriage can murder you. Well, financially speaking. We of course witnessed a few weddings during the seasons, some ending a little worse than others you could say, but it's not that type of ending I'm talking about. The amount of money lost during a divorce is mind-blowing. And not to forget that the average wedding costs a little more than $33,000. Most people lose 50% of what they own during a divorce, which can be quite a bit if you handle your finances well. My advice would be to never sign anything marriage related if you're not educated about the subject. Because even though everything is going great right now, you never know what may happen in the future. And if you don't believe me, ask Joffrey. And that was it. 7 financial lessons Game of Thrones teaches us. Apply them all and one day you might be as rich as Tywin Lannister. Make sure to like the video and subscribe for more content like this, and I hope to see you in the next video. Stay wealthy, people.